Good morning. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where compassion leads us to work for justice and equality. I'm glad you came here today. It is my hope that you will find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. To all of you that are joining us on Facebook Live this morning, welcome. Keep an eye out on our weekly email for updates on our ongoing reopening, as well as how to access our service online each week. And a quick note, we will have the service here and live on Facebook on Christmas Eve, December 24th at 6 p.m. My name is Michael Munoz, and I am your worship associate this morning. Be you, spiritual seeker, an atheist or a theist, whether you find inspiration in the great books or the great outdoors, or in great conversations. All are welcome in our inclusive congregation. To newcomers and old friends, together we say, welcome. A special thanks to our volunteers and staff this morning. Our AV team, Eric Hart, Cindy Fountain, and Jeff Rodriguez. Our cellist leader, Sue Anderson. Our meditation leader, Diane Austin. Our social justice chair, Cindy Fountain, as well as our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy. Pianist Yuki Kumamoto, Sexton Jean McKeon, and Office Administrator Don McKee. And I'd just like to take a moment to recognize that we are back in the church. We are still taking necessary COVID precautions, and we all still need to be careful to keep our community safe. But the hard work of our reopening task force community, Nurse Kim Hart, and other volunteers and staff that worked really hard to get us here deserves recognition. Thank you all. It's best for you that I will be able to thank you in person here on Page Avenue. Today, Reverend Leslie Mills. Today we welcome Reverend Leslie Mills to our recorded pulpit this morning. She's a third-generation Unitarian Universalist. She was dedicated as a child of First Unitarian Social Society in Milwaukee and went through coming of age at Unitarian Universalist Church North in McKeon, Wisconsin. After college, she joined Unitarian Universalist Church of Rockford, Illinois, where she felt the call to ministry. After exploring the 12 UU churches in the Twin Cities during seminary, she was called to serve the Unitarian Universalist Church of Elgin, Illinois, where she was ordained in 2016. Please make yourself comfortable during the service. Sit, stand, rock, wiggle, or be still as a silent night. I think we all got a little used to that while attending at home. As we prepare to listen to this morning's prelude, please turn your cell phones completely off so that signals do not interfere with hearing-assisted devices. Our opening words are from Leslie Mills, A Miracle of Hope. Each year we welcome to this the press of days and months accumulating. Into the year's completion, each year the planet tilts. All the weary travels into the dark, shortening days. Each year the heart yearns, the questions, the sighs, the waits. Each year we welcome to this, the gathering of community, the tells of the stories, the rebirth of wonder, the miracle of hope. Come, let us join us together for worship today. At this time, I invite forward Sue Anderson to light our chalice. The flaming chalice is a symbol of both the heritage of our past and the light of hope within this church today. If you have a chalice with you at home, please light it with us. In the weeks of the Advent season, the weeks of waiting, we have remembered patience. We have looked to the light to dispel darkness. We have pledged to be, do, and seek peace. This week, we remember the foundation of all living things, love. In this holiday season, throughout the year to come, and always in our lives, may we know we are loved. May we share love we have, and may be the love we wish to see. Our chalice lighting song, Be the Light, by Leah Morris.
There is always a light when you're ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always a light in the dark when we are ready to see it. There's always a light in the dark when we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always a light. There's always light. We are ready to see it. There's always a light. There's always light. We are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always a light. There's always light. We are ready to see it. There's always a light. There's always light. And we're ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There's always light. There's always light. There's always light. There's always light. Be the light.
Please stand or sit tall and join me in our reciting the affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. Dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please remain as you are and join me for our opening hymn. 244, It came upon a midnight clear.
It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill, goodwill, from heaven the news we bring. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er the weary world. Above its sad and lowly plains they bend on hovering wing, and ever o'er its babble sounds the blessed angels sing. But with the woes of war and strife the world has suffered long. Beneath the angels' strain have rolled 2,000 years of wrong. And we who fight the wars hear not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush the noise of battle strife, and hear the angels sing. For lo, the days are hastening on, by prophet bards foretold, when with the ever-circling years comes round the age of gold, when peace shall over all the earth its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world give back the song which now the angels sing. Thank you. You may be seated.
Our time for all ages will be a story called I Wonder.
I'm Allison Wyatt, Director of Religious Education for the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of La Crosse, Wisconsin. And this morning, it's my pleasure to bring to you our time for all ages. So let's give our young ones a minute to gather around and get comfortable. Okay, let me start by asking you a question. Do you know what question kids ask their adults most often? In my experience, it's why. All of us are filled with so many things we wonder about and want to understand. It's a big part of being human. So this morning, I have a beautiful book to share with you. that's about exactly this. It's called I Wonder by Annika Harris. Eva loves to look for the moon. It follows her from place to place, disappearing behind trees and mountains and then appearing again someplace new. Look, Mama, there it is. The moon looks so beautiful in the sky. How do you think it follows us, Eva? Eva thinks about it, but she just can't figure it out. It's okay to say, I don't know, says her mother. When we don't know something, we get to wonder about it. I wonder if the moon and the earth are friends, says Eva. Her mother smiles. I like that idea. But Mama, how does the moon really stay close to us? There's an invisible force called gravity that pulls all the things in the universe together, Eva's mother explains. Gravity keeps the moon close to the earth, and it keeps the planets close to the sun, too. They circle around like this. Eva understands a little better, but then she starts to wonder, Mama, where does gravity come from? I don't know, Eva. Nobody really knows for sure, and when nobody knows the answer to something, it's called a mystery. A mystery is something for everyone to wonder about together. How fun! Eva imagines herself wondering about gravity together with all the people in the world. Eva watches the moon disappear behind the clouds as she walks, excited to see where it will appear next. How many grains of sand are in the whole world, Mama? I wonder about that too. There are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, but nobody knows exactly how many. Eva tries to think about all the sand in the whole world. It feels so big, I can't fit it all in my imagination. It makes me feel dizzy, like I'm falling. I know what you mean, her mother agrees. And I'm sure other people feel that way too. Eva walks down another path looking for the moon, and a little orange butterfly appears. Then she notices there are butterflies everywhere. Mama, where did all these butterflies come from? These butterflies have been flying around for a few days, but they started out as little caterpillars, and those caterpillars came from eggs, and those eggs came from other butterflies. There are cycles all around us, with one thing ending and another beginning. Things are always changing. Can you think of other things that change? Clouds and frogs and me. Later, Eva wonders, Mama, what was here before all the butterflies and frogs and clouds? Before everything? I don't know, answers her mother. It's another mystery. I like trying to imagine what was here before the beginning of everything. What do you think was here? And Eva says, smiling, I don't know. She thinks about it for a long time, and then she has an idea. I wonder if there were feelings. As she walks home, Eva sees the moon again, glowing brightly above the roof of her house. Let's go inside and look for the moon through the window. This time of year, especially this year, we are all living with so much unknown. There are some very big mysteries. I bet you can think of a few right now. So I want to give you what might be a different way to think about that. When we come upon a mystery, any kind of mystery, we are given a little gift. Every mystery is something for all of us to wonder about together. What do you wonder about?
share the joys and concerns of this congregation.
Good morning. As we share our joys with others, our joys are multiplied. As we share our concerns, our community can offer its care. Anyone can submit a joy or concern by emailing the pastoral care team at pastoralcare@westsideu.org or through a web form located at the program tab on the church's website. Or you can also do one of these pink sheets and put it in the box. I will begin with concerns and ask that the person who wrote the joy or concern raise their hand or stand so that we may know who you are. The first is a concern from Sharon Salee. She's now in rehab at Stonegate, but will be home on Tuesday. We're looking forward to that. The next one is from Stephanie Jeffers and her family, her children. Her mother died this week, and she will have more announcements later on about when the funeral and everything is. The third one is from Myrtle McMahon. Today is the 5th anniversary of my beloved Howard's death. Alzheimer's is a cruel disease, and I lost him many years before that. And the next one is a joy from Jenna and Donald Kennard. Faith, who is our oldest, gets home tonight from Cambridge, England. We're so excited. Sharing draws our community together. Please know that your pastoral care associates will be available to support you one-on-one in the ups and downs that life brings. We are here for you.
As we hold the joys and challenges among both those spoken, those that remain unsaid, let us hear Honor the Dark by Leah Morris. Diane Austin will then lead our meditation of shared compassion.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
Hello, Westside. I invite you to join me in a time of centering. Each week here at Westside, we open our hearts to those in our community who know both joys and challenges, and to all suffering beings. I will begin with a pastoral introduction before we move into a time for silent reflection. The bell will sound to signal the start of the time for your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and it will sound again at the end. This meditation is from Reverend Gordon McKeeman. Ministry is all that we do together. Ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity, beckons forth hidden possibilities, invites us into deeper, more constant, reverent relationships, and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry is what we do together as we celebrate triumphs of our human spirit, miracles of birth and life, wonders of devotion and sacrifice. Ministry is what we do together with one another, in terror and torment, in grief, in misery and pain, enabling us in the presence of death to say yes to life. We who minister, speak, and live the best we know with full knowledge that is never quite enough. And yet, we are reassured by lostness found, fragments reunited, wounds healed, and joy shared. Ministry is what we all do together. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.
In the spirit of generosity, we reach out to the wider community. Today, we do this by donating 100% of our weekly offering to Texas UU Justice Ministry. You can give in person today, or if you are watching the service on Facebook, you can give on the Venco mobile app anytime. Just select Sunday Plate Offering Fund. If you are contributing to your pledge instead, please use the small envelopes at the bottom of the bowl as it is passed. The Texas UU Justice Ministry is a statewide justice ministry that raises the voice of Unitarian Universalist values in the public arena and seeks to have those values enacted into legislation and promulgated in public policy. The Texas UUJM will educate and organize members' congregations and partner with sympathetic organizations guided by our UU principles. Westside has been a member of congregation since 2012. With this connection, we became aware of Just Texas program that invited churches to become reproductive justice congregations, which we did in 2017. We secured grant money so that local organizations, RAICES, and the United Fort Worth could hold meetings here. Each Texas legislative session, Texas UUJM, keeps congregations informed of the top priorities where we UUs can make our voices heard. The timing of this plate offering happens to come when the founding executive director, Reverend Chuck Freeman, is now in hospice after fighting serious health issues this past year. Chuck has been a very passionate and active leader of Texas UU Justice Ministry. Shortly before Chuck entered hospice, he sent a message to all Texas UUs. Keep strong. Keep up the fight. This morning's offering will be most gratefully received. Thank you for putting into practice here at Westside the spiritual virtue of generosity. Our giving connects us further to the wider web of community. Now please, sit back and listen as we hear the reflection from Reverend Leslie Mills.
Hanukkah Sameach. Viva la Virgen de Guadalupe. Blessed Solstice. Merry Christmas. I'm Reverend Leslie Mills, and it is a joy to be joining you, Westside UU, from La Crosse, Wisconsin. I am so grateful that you invited me to join you today. We are in the midst of rocketing through the winter holidays, deep in the season of celebrations that span cultures and continents. This is the time of year when we're invited into the rich stories of loss and rebirth, of despair and hope, of resistance to oppression, and the miracles that bring light back into the world in one way or another. Contemplating miracles is a fraught prospect for Unitarian Universalists in the best of times, especially in the Midwest. We tend to hold the discrepancies of unexplained things at arm's length and regard them with a certain amount of suspicion. We want the cool logic of science and rational thought to offer a reassuring explanation that helps us categorize an experience into something predictable and reassuring. Maybe it's different in Texas, but up here we often bring our scientific scrutiny to bear, perhaps resisting the possibility that we might not have a tidy way to explain the world around us, whether the events took place this morning or thousands of years ago, or indeed back at the beginning of time. It is part of our Unitarian heritage, I think, those stalwart white intellectuals that pass down this urge to explain away the mysteries until there's nothing left to wonder at. We forget sometimes that mystery and wonder were an integral part of what drove those historic Unitarians to grapple with their awe of the world around them. And of course, the Unitarians weren't alone in that. It is the business of religion to contemplate the incomprehensible, to put words to that which can't be explained, but only experienced through movements of the spirit, exploring the long and winding hallways of the heart. There's something about letting ourselves dwell in mystery and awe and wonder that still draws us as human creatures. And so we humans try to create pathways for that journey of the spirit, and we call them stories. This is a time of year when the old stories resurface again. The story of a grieving and struggling people, weary to the bone from battling their oppressors, who are digging through the ruins of their sacred space and find that their holy lamp does not hold enough oil to stay alight until they can make more. And the story of a time when the colonizers and the people whose land was occupied were struggling to find ways that they could share an understanding of the holy. And a message from the Divine Mother came in a way that allowed peace and wonder to blossom. And the story of a cosmos that slowly tilts us away from the sun until food cannot grow and water freezes solid and our frail human bodies shiver with cold, and we huddle around the fire as the nights grow longer with each turning of the earth until we wonder if the light will ever return. And the story of a young brown-skinned woman, unmarried, chosen through no conscious efforts or intentions of her own to bear the hope of the world in the form of an illegitimate child, in an occupied state that would try to take that child from her arms and extinguish that light. These stories resurface every year, remembered and celebrated around the globe, across languages and cultures and continents. They are stories of struggle and wonder and awe, and they were never meant to be explained away with logic. That isn't why they persist. They don't persist because they are factual, but because they are true. These stories persist because they answer our deep human need to keep mystery in our lives, and they give us a way to grapple with our deepest fear, that the light will go out and not return. Across space and time, these stories all assure us that the light will return and hope will be restored. A year ago, I thought we'd be living in a different world by now. A year ago, masked and distanced, and in many cases unable to see our loved ones for the holidays, we turned to virtual options to close the distance. And then, like a Christmas miracle, the vaccine was announced, and like cave dwellers emerging into the world from an underground lair, we were dazzled by the return of the light. By spring, the mask mandate was lifted. For a time, we knew the return of hope. And yet life is rarely smooth, and stories never unfold in a straight line. No matter in what part of the country you spent the last 2 years, you've known the draining roller coaster of constant risk assessment. You know the exhaustion of following the constantly changing landscape of the pandemic as new variants have emerged and spread around the globe. And perhaps you even know the sting of loss after losing someone to this seemingly unstoppable disease. You know how it feels to have your hope disappear and to wonder if it will ever return. You understand that fear deep in your bones, that maybe this is how it all ends. This is the time of year for that feeling. This is the time for which these stories were created. I chose this topic of wonder and miracles back in September when we had dreamed of reopening UU La Crosse and then had to change our minds. Like all of us, I was sitting with my own grief over the fresh complication of the Delta variant, not knowing that Omicron would follow hard on Delta's heels, not knowing that by the time I would be preaching this message, it would be as sorely needed as it is. It seems right now we are all in need of some reminders that we need to go into the darkness in order to understand the miracle of the return of the light. What do these ancient stories tell us? From the Jewish tradition, we have Hanukkah, the story of a group of Jews called the Maccabees defeating an army 2,200 years ago. In their victory, the Maccabees regained their temple, which had been desecrated by the invaders. It needed to be rededicated, and the lamp needed consecrated oil, but they only had enough to last for one day. The process for making more would take 8 days. The miracle, of course, is that the small amount of oil they had available stayed burning for the entire 8 days until they could produce more. But I wonder if perhaps it is also a miracle that they chose to light the lamp at all. What was it? What part of the human spirit, what still small voice made them do that? Facing the destruction of their holy ground, not knowing the flame would stay lit, they could easily have given up or waited and said, we'll just do the consecration when the new batch of oil is ready. But they didn't. Something, some urge compelled them to take up the match and light the lamp anyway. That sign of hope, of reclaiming what they held as sacred, was so important that they chose to light the lamp even as they risked having it go out. Today, I wonder, in what ways are we afraid to light the lamp, for fear that we will use up the little oil we have left? And how do we face that fear and light our lamp anyway, so the miracle has a chance to occur? And in Mexico, we have the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe and Blessed Juan Diego, a native Aztec who was baptized at the age of 50 by a Franciscan priest in what is now Mexico City. According to the Vatican, on December 9th, 1531, when Juan Diego was on his way to morning mass, the Blessed Mother appeared to him on Tepeyac Hill. She asked him to go to the bishop and request in her name that a shrine be built at Tepeyac, where she promised to pour out her grace upon those who invoked her. The bishop did not believe Juan Diego and asked for a sign to prove that the apparition was true. On December 12th, Juan Diego returned to Tepeyac. Here, the Blessed Mother told him to climb the hill and to pick the flowers that he would find in bloom. He obeyed, and although it was wintertime, he found roses flowering. He gathered the flowers and took them to Our Lady, who carefully placed them on his tilma, or his cloak made of cactus fibers, and told him to take them to the bishop as proof. When he opened his tilma, the flowers fell away, and there remained impressed on the cloak, in place of the flowers, an image of the Blessed Mother. The bishop was convinced, and the shrine was built. Today, that shrine is a cathedral, and the Festival of Guadalupe is celebrated throughout Mexico for 12 nights, and the original cloak remains at the cathedral in Mexico City. But here's what's curious. The image on the cloak to this date cannot be explained by science. It shows no sign of deterioration after nearly 500 years, even though the fabric should have disintegrated within 20 to 60 years. X-rays reveal no undersketch, no sizing, and no protective overvarnish on the image, and microscopic examination revealed no brush strokes. It's smooth like a photograph, 300 years before the invention of photography. The image changes. It seems to increase in size and change colors, and it has consistently defied exact reproduction, whether by brush or camera. The distortion and place of the images are identical to what is produced in the normal eye, which is impossible to obtain on a flat surface. All who have scientifically examined the image over the centuries confess that its properties are absolutely unique and inexplicable. I know that for those of us who do not share that particular faith, stories of saints and holy relics and divine appearances can seem far-fetched. And we can feel resistance to letting that mystery in. We might feel a need to dismiss it or debunk it. So just for this moment, I'd like to invite you to set that aside and feel what it's like to let in the awe and the wonder that has kept this story alive for 5 centuries. Today, I wonder, where are we being called to build a shrine of grace and hope? In what ways are we carrying a cloak filled with flowers and possibility, not knowing what will happen when we take the risk of opening it? What visions are emblazoned inexplicably on our hearts, calling us to offer the consolation of hope to an aching world? From the northern countries, we have the celebrations of the Winter Solstice, the longest night. In the Sami traditions, far in northern Europe, their part of the earth tips so far that by the solstice, the sun doesn't even clear the horizon. All is frozen and dark with nothing but the moon and stars to light the land. It can truly feel like the light, the life force, has disappeared forever, abandoning us in a frigid land of ice and snow. But the great mother reindeer has compassion for the living things that are suffering in the cold, and she travels south beyond the horizon on the winter solstice, and she takes the hidden sun in her great antlers, carrying it slowly for the next several weeks, step by step, minute by minute, day by day, back to where it will make the earth green again. The solstice is a time for rest and healing, for contemplation and reflection, for gentleness and compassion and kindness. It's a time to let go of that which isn't serving us, to release the patterns and habits and grudges that are holding us back, and to dream ourselves into the people we want to be, so that when the call comes in the spring, we are ready to jump up and live again. Today, I wonder, in what ways might we embrace the darkness of the season rather than fear and resist it? In what ways are we frozen and longing for the return of the sun? How might we become the reindeer ourselves, daring to travel into the dark beyond the horizon and come back bearing the sun in our antlers, bringing life back to the world? And of course, there's the story that began in the Middle East and now is at the center of much of American society, both religious and secular. It's the story of Mary, learning she's carrying a child who will be called King of the Jews. It is the story of Joseph stepping up to support and father a child he did not conceive. It is the story of wise sages humbled by the innocent and of angels heralding the birth. It is the story of the infant Jesus, born illegitimately into poverty, and it's the story of a family on the run from agents of King Herod who have been ordered to kill this child before he can spend his life resisting oppression and leading people on a path of love and compassion. Today, I wonder, what unexpected blessings are we carrying, gestating until they're ready to come forth and change the world? What good news are we ready to proclaim? How does this story live in our daily lives as we face the Herods of today, the corrupt leaders who would betray the hope of the world? And still, I know these are all religious stories. So where do we turn to for hope and wonder and awe when we want to seek outside of religion? Of course, we turn to the miracle of science, and for that, my favorite place to go is NASA. This year, 2021, humanity touched the sun. We flew a probe straight into the corona and stayed there for hours and did not get destroyed. Rewriting the ancient story of Icarus, The probe is still there, spiraling around the star at the center of our solar system and sending unprecedented data back to Earth. How's that for wonder? This year, we found a giant black hole that exists where it should not, like finding the wreck of the Titanic at the bottom of a pond. And astronomers have no idea how it got there. A crucial piece is missing from what we know about how black holes are born, or how galaxies form, or maybe even both. And figuring it out might shift the entire way we understand the universe. This year, in examining our own home galaxy, the Milky Way, astronomers found that the carefully charted spiral might actually have another arm, an enormous filament of gas and dust that defies physics and was somehow previously undetected. They nicknamed it the cat tail, and they have no idea how it got there. This year, on Christmas Eve, no less, there is a rocket launch scheduled that will push into space a telescope that has been under construction for over 25 years and is 100 times more powerful than Hubble. It will fly 1 million miles away from Earth, and the data it collects may tell us if there's life on other planets. And it will show us the very first galaxies and stars created by the Big Bang. It will look billions of years back in time to observe the early formation of molecular hydrogen from a universe void and without form. In the words of David Bondrell at the Washington Post, as we mark another solstice and bring this sometimes bitter year to an end, spare a thought, he says, for the scientists whose past labors and future hopes will be riding a rocket towards outer space. Fingers crossed as their best efforts are tested beyond the point of no return, and their instruments power up to train an eye on places and times never before glimpsed. We're all along for the ride, he concludes, every human who ever wondered at the majesty of the universe, every person who feels grateful that from dust and gravity and unseen matter, everything good and beautiful and true in the world is somehow made. Whether we return to religion or science, wonder and curiosity, if we can't make space for awe and wonder, what are we even doing with our life? Over and over, I've found that opening ourselves to other beliefs and scientific discoveries can make us more in awe, not less, more connected to wonder, not less, more open to the possibility of miracles, not less. This has been a complex year. This is a year where the good news has been announced and still we are waiting for something wonderful to happen. It's a year where the planet tipping us into the darkness doesn't really feel like a metaphor. It's a year where we're holding what's left of our sacred oil, knowing it isn't enough, and wondering if we want to take the risk of lighting our lamps anyway. It's a year where we know what it is to hold our cloak close to our chests, not knowing if it contains the miracle. And it's also a year where humanity's curiosity and wonder about our place in the universe is yet again propelling us into the cosmos, yearning to unravel the mysteries that exist beyond our perceptions of reality, and discovering cattails where we thought there was nothing. In an article titled "Cancel the Apocalypse" by Films for Action, we read, "Our present moment is saturated in dystopian apocalyptic fantasies of the future. We can envision 1,000 ways that we might destroy ourselves. What this points to is a crisis of imagination. Humans at heart are storytellers, and we enact the stories we tell ourselves. Our culture is enacting a story that's destroying the world. If humanity is going to unlock the good ending, we've got to imagine it first. We've got to imagine 10,000 localized versions of it. That's how things change." And this leads me to wonder, In what ways, large and small, are we enacting stories that are destroying ourselves? How are our stories drawing on our fears instead of our hopes? And how can we cast a vision for the future that draws others into helping us co-create it? Whether we find ourselves in times of ease or struggle, the truth is that the future is yet unwritten, and our story is not done being told. In the words of Ted Tollefson, may the eyes of our hearts be open and tongues of I know better keep still. Now is always a good time to witness, praise, and share the light entrusted to our care, even if our hands tremble, even if we can't remember the magic word. We are the bearers of the precious infant, and we are the lighters of the lamp. We carry the sun in our antlers, and we carry a cloak of flowers. We are the primitive heart holding fast on the longest night of the year, and we are the eye gazing into the darkness of space, bringing wonder and awe down to earth. We are all of these things and more. We are the storytellers of our own salvation. May you be a light bringer to all you meet this holiday season, and may we shine ever brighter together in the year ahead. May it be so, and amen.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago. Christ, a homeless stranger, so the Gospels say, cradled in a manger and a bed of hay. In the bleak midwinter, stable place sufficed. Mary and her baby, Jesus Christ. Once more child and mother weave their magic spell, touching hearts with wonder, words can never tell. In the bleak midwinter, in this world of pain, where our hearts are open
Please join me in their congregational closing printed in your order of service. Let us go in peace, believe in peace, and create peace in our lives and in the world. May it be so. Another quick reminder that we have Christmas Eve, Friday, December 24th service here live and on Facebook at 6 p.m.